Life Camp USA is a nonprofit organization that mentors young men who have lost a father due to military or law enforcement service. Life Camp USA provides an all-expenses-paid, week-long, world-class camp experience that inspires, equips, and navigates these fatherless young men through some of life's toughest moments. Life Camp USA's mentors serve grieving families by helping these sons establish healthy identities, values, character, and goals without the crucial aid of a father in their life. To learn more about Life Camp's mission, visit lifecampusa.org. Again, that's lifecampusa.org.
Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast, where leaders are empowered to equip and disciple men.
Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. My name is Steve Sonderman, and I'm the director of No Regrets Men's Ministry. And I really want to thank you for being a part of this today. And our goal, as it is every week, is to just have a time to encourage you, to equip you as you desire to work with men. And so we know that some of you are small group leaders. Some of you are teachers and pastors. Some of you are leading a men's ministry in your local church, and some of you guys are just you're leading in the marketplace or in the community, and you want to be equipped to do that in a better way. So no matter what your role is today, we thank you for being a part of this, and we hope that you'll be encouraged by what we talk about today. And our special guest is Brady Boyd, and many of you know him because he was with us a few years ago at the No Regrets Men's Conference. And he is the pastor of New Life Church in Colorado Springs, author of a number of books. And so we've asked Brady to join us today and just to bring you up to speed on what's been going on in his life and his family and his ministry. And then we're going to talk about ministry to men. And we're going to talk about the crisis that we see with young men today and what the church can do about that. We're going to talk about the role of a senior pastor in ministry to men in the local church. So we're so glad that you have joined us, and I know that you will be encouraged by our time together. So, hey, Brady, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. I love you. I appreciate what you do. I love your influence around the world with men, and just admire you and respect you a great deal. And it's great to be on the podcast today to talk to your audience and really to bring to light some of the things that God's doing around the world in the lives of men. So it's exciting. I know we live in a dark and troubling time, and with various events going on around the world as we speak today. But even in the midst of great darkness, Steve, we're seeing light break forth all over. We're seeing really signs of renewal and revival happening. And it truly is an exciting time to be a follower of Jesus right now. And we have just tremendous opportunities right now to share good news.
You're absolutely right. People are at a place where they're scared, they're fearful. I can't tell you, I'm sure you've had these conversations, people so anxious about all that's going on. And they're looking for direction, for comfort, for just the truth, right? And so I think it's a wonderful time to bring the gospel of Jesus and the light of who Jesus is into the world and into conversations to help people at this time.
Yeah, no doubt.
Brady, would you mind just taking a time to, it's been a couple of years since you've been at the conference. Why don't you just bring our listeners up to speed on how you're doing, your family, your ministry, what's new, what you've been working on and thinking about lately?
Yeah, we at New Life Church here in Colorado Springs, we are seeing an outburst of salvations happening. In the last 7 months, we have baptized over 600 people.
Oh my, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, 614 people in 7 months. And we're seeing salvations break out everywhere. Here in, Colorado is not the Bible Belt. It's not necessarily always open to the gospel, but we're seeing, in spite of all that, we're seeing people turn to Jesus in record numbers. That our church is 38 years old, and we've seen more baptisms this year than in the 38-year history of the church, any other year. And it's so encouraging. I mean, and the stories of the people being baptized are remarkable. I mean, powerful, miraculous. 3 different women who profess to be satanic witches in 3 different covens, all came to Christ separately. All were baptized. In fact, one of those ladies who came out of witchcraft was sitting behind me just a few weeks ago during worship, and she's sobbing the entire time. We have seen just a miracle take place in people's lives. And I think that's why I'm so encouraged right now. Call me old fashioned, but I still believe the gospel changes people's lives. And when we keep Jesus at the center of our worship, we keep Jesus at the center of our preaching, Jesus at the center of our own lives, we will see the gospel break out and in a very dark world. And so that's been very exciting to see. We earlier this year, there was a congregation in town that was struggling, and we joined forces with them. They had a building, like a 40,000 square foot building that they gave to us.
Wow.
We have 8 congregations here in town, eight locations. And so one of our locations that was in rental space was able to take over the building, and we tripled in size. We went from 300 to 900 people at that location because of the permanent space. So there's just so many good things happening, and not just at New Life in Colorado, but around the world. Hearing these stories of people who have been faithful, people who have been prayerful, are seeing the favor of the Lord on their lives. And so I just want to encourage all the pastors, leaders, lay leaders that are out listening to us to not give up hope, to not be weary in well-doing right now, because a faithful reward is coming to faithful people. And I've seen it firsthand here. I'm so encouraged, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for the Lord's hand on our church and for the salvations that we're seeing, and just pray it would continue.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. It is so good to hear what God is doing at New Life and in other places. And I would agree wholeheartedly. I was in Pakistan back in April and worked with about 150 pastors and leaders over there for 4 days up in Lahore and then 4 days down in Karachi. And goodness, the stories of what's going on in a country that's about 96, 97% Muslim, and just the number of Muslims that are coming to faith. And it was so heartwarming. I was more inspired by that trip than almost any trip I heard, just to hear the stories, like you said, of what God is doing. And it's happening everywhere. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Hey, Brady, I know that you speak at conferences and retreats and things all over the country, and so why no regrets? I mean, you're a handful of things you could do. Why is no regrets one of them? And what do you see happen when men get together for something like this?
Well, there is something powerful happening with No Regrets. I've been there before. I love the spirit behind your gathering. I love the collection of men. I love the diversity of the gathering. I love the fact that young and old, rich and poor, black, white, and brown men are all coming together under the banner of Jesus. I think that it is, I like your word, that it is catalytic. There's a catalyst that happens. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. And the Bible says that we should not forsake the assembling of ourselves, especially as we see the day approaching. And I think we certainly see the day approaching right now. And so I think anytime we can get in a room and online with several thousand men and join our voices together and come together really in a spirit of unity, I think there's something powerful that happens. And that happens at your conference. You've done a great job, Steve, of just calling men together, of standing at the center of a room and calling men to attention. Right now, men are tired, they're bored, they're discouraged. I think there are times when we need to call men together in a room and challenge each other, sharpen one another like iron sharpens iron. And I love that about your conference. I think it's bold. I think it's strong. I think there's strength to your conference. And so it makes me want to come. And plus, who would give up a chance to come to Milwaukee in February? I mean, it's just the garden spot of the world in February, right?
That's right. Just bring a nice down coat and you'll be fine.
That's right.
You're used to this type of weather out there. I think it's hard for the California boys. We got Kenny Luck coming this year from South Cal, and we got Ricky Jenkins from Palm Springs. I think for those guys, it might be a little rougher than someone coming from Colorado Springs.
All right, we'll toughen them up a little bit, though.
Yeah, we will. That's for sure. Hey, we were talking ahead of time just about, ministry to men and the church and some of the things we're seeing. And boy, I know one of the things is truly a young man crisis, if we want to call it that. And gosh, Brady, I know you've been involved with young men. You have them over to your place and, for burgers and whatever. And we've talked about that, but you want to just take a couple of minutes and talk about what you're seeing and what you're hearing from other pastors about this crisis with young men and maybe how the church can respond to that.
Yeah, it really is a crisis. I was just with a leader of a national men's organization, and he said around the country that churches coming out of COVID have seen a 20 to 30% drop in men attending their church. And he was asking me, what's the reason for that, Brady? And I said, there's a lot of reasons. Number one, men, again, are distracted, they're bored, they're tired. And I think sometimes that churches are not answering the questions that they're asking. And that's really the primary role of a pastor, is to take the scriptures and to answer the questions that they're asking. And to really help them ask even better questions. I mean, some of the men that are asking questions are not asking the right questions. So we have to direct men, what are the right questions you should be asking? And then let me help you answer those questions. And the questions are this. The questions are, why am I here? They're age-old questions. What was I created for? What does it mean to be a biblically masculine man? What does it mean to lead my home? How do I handle money? What does the Bible say about my sexuality and my gender? I mean, these are real questions that men are asking right now. And I think pastors who step into the pulpit armed with the answers to those important questions, you will not have any trouble with attracting men to your church, because men are hungry for truth. And the gospel is still true. Whether we believe it or not, the gospel is still true. It's good news. And if we will talk to men, I think I'm right about this, but every time I preach, I say something to men. In other words, I'll say, hey, man, listen, this is for you. Or I'll say, hey, man, I was thinking about you this week. Or, hey, guys, I know you're wrestling with this topic. So in every sermon, I address them and say, hey, guys, like you, I'm a 56-year-old dad trying to raise my children, trying to be a godly example to my family. I know you're asking this question. I'm asking this question. And here's what I believe the Bible says about it. So I think that's the way you have to get into the hearts of men. You got to let them know you're thinking about them, you care about them, that you're in the race with them. I mean, a lot of men look at pastors and they wonder, are we really living normal lives? Are we wrestling with the same doubts and frustrations? And the answer, of course, is yes, we are. And we're in the game with you. We're in the race with you. We're in the yoke with you. And I think when men know that, when they know you're thinking about them, when they know you care about them, when they know you're praying for them, that opens up space in your church for men to attend.
Are you looking for a Bible study that will forge a deep and lasting connection with other guys? Then the Base Camp Bible Study Series is for you. Base Camp is a series of studies that will guide your men through the scriptures, addressing core disciplines of the Christian faith, while challenging them to become authentic and committed followers of Jesus. Each lesson includes a digital study guide, teaching videos, and leader notes to help facilitate transformative discussions. Start your spiritual journey today with Basecamp. Visit noregretsmen.org/Basecamp. Again, that's noregretsmen.org/Basecamp.
And so we're conscious about that. This is a funny story. Several years ago, I was talking to a group of worship pastors. And they were all talking about, hey, how do we get men to worship more? How do we get them to sing? I said, number one, lower the octave at least once. And number two, quit singing songs about Jesus being your boyfriend. I said, Jesus is not our boyfriend. Jesus is King. He is Lord. He is Savior. He's the resurrected one. He's Christ victorious. Sing songs like that. Don't sing songs about Jesus being your boyfriend, because he's not. He is. So sing songs that speak to men. And women don't mind that. And I think it's sound theology, number one. Let's not confuse that. So those are things that we're talking about at New Life. I have a church full of really strong men. Just last Sunday, I looked over to my right, and there was a 3-star general. He's in the Army. He and his whole family were on the second row. He had his hands lifted in the air, singing as loud as he could. And this guy is commanding a huge chunk of our Army right now. He reports directly to the White House. He's a man of tremendous influence and character, but he's also an unashamed follower of Jesus on the second row of my church. And he never misses a Sunday when he's in town. And guys like that, listen, that can elevate the spiritual life of your church when you have strong men there. So I'm very proud of that. I'm happy about that. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, there were so many things you just said in that, so many nuggets. But the first thing you said is that the church oftentimes is not answering the questions men are asking, right? And I just see that. I just read a survey, Brady, that they surveyed thousands of church-going men, and they asked the question, in the last year, have you heard a sermon on work? And 92% of the men said no. And again, it's the same thing you're saying, is that where does a man spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week? At work. And yet we're not addressing it. We're not, and the Bible has so much to say on work and on purpose and sexuality and all the topics that you listed there. And so we need to, they don't really care about the 27 different views of the second coming of Christ, right? I mean, it's where the rubber hits the road is the topics that we need to be addressing.
Yeah, Eugene Peterson said that he never prepared a sermon until he walked through the neighborhood. And I think that's really important. A lot of pastors are not connected to the lives of men. They're not aware of what's happening in their Monday through Saturday world. And the best thing that we can do for our sermon preparation is maybe put aside your commentary for a couple of hours and go out to lunch with a guy, take him out for a burger, show up at his work and just say hi to him. Find out what are the stress points of the men in your church, and speak to those. Men want help. They don't know how to ask for help all the time, but men want help. They want strength. They want wisdom. And if you'll offer that to them, and show them that you really truly care about what's going on in their Monday through Saturday world, they will show up on Sunday.
Yeah, I love that. I just love that. I call a meeting with a purpose, but it's just getting together with another man. And like you said, having breakfast, coffee, lunch, showing up at their work says what you do is important and where you live your life is important. And we have to do ministry on their turf. We have to give them the home field advantage and not expect them just to come to our place to meet, but to go to them. And that is so powerful and so important to them. It says you matter. It says in what you do matters, right?
Yeah. Oh. And we're seeing another thing we're seeing, Steve, is we're seeing a crisis of young men and women, not men and women, not saying yes to vocational ministry. And I just read a report that in the next 10 years, we're going to have a wave of retirements from guys my age. And there is going to be a noticeable gap in the number of young men ready and willing, young men and women who are ready and willing to step into those roles. So we see this across our seminaries. Fewer and fewer men and women are going to Bible schools and seminaries. There's a handful of exceptions, but by and large, seminaries are struggling. And why is that? Because, young men and women are going to secular universities to get secular degrees, and they're not saying yes to vocational ministry. So I think we have to get back to casting a greater vision to young men and women about the beauty and the joy of serving the local church as a pastor. And I think that's a real crisis that we're going to have to address sooner rather than later. Are we going to look up in 2030, let's say, 2040 especially, and we're going to have a lot of churches that just don't have pulpit supply. Not going to have leaders. And so the pastors have to be aware of that. I remember when I grew up, it was very common for my pastor to look at a group of young people and say, some of you have a call of God on your life to be pastoral ministry. Raise your hand if you feel that call. Let me pray for you. Let me meet with you. And I've found myself saying that more and more now to young men and women, just awaken their soul to the idea that they may need to live their life as a pastor. And don't assume that they are even thinking about that right now, because they're not.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, man, I mean, just as you're talking, I'm thinking that might be a great application even for No Regrets at the conference. We, at the end of every year, we do a time of commitment. And I think, gosh, in front of a bunch of other men is just to give the guys an opportunity, the younger men. To say, because this year we are doing a young man's track, and we have a whole series of talks just for young men. And I know one of them's on purpose. I think Kenny Luck's doing that one, and discovering God's purpose for your life. But this would be a great follow-up. So thanks for saying that. And I think that's something that, like you said, pastors can include in their normal conversations and preaching. And
yeah, no doubt about it. I know that it's easy to look around the landscape of our world and be discouraged, but I really think that's a ploy of the enemy. There is lots of good things happening around, and I just take heart. I think that when I woke up this morning, that was my prayer for our podcast today, is that someone that is listening to your podcast right now is thinking about quitting and giving up. It's just too hard. They've not seen the fruit that they want to see in their ministry or in their life. And I just want to tell people, listen, our job is to plant and to water. And God is the one who gives the increase. And God, all we are responsible to do is to plant good seed and water it with the spirit of our life, and let God give the increase when he's ready. But it is a guarantee. Listen, I know I'm careful about giving absolutes and guarantees in the Bible, but the Bible is very clear that if we will be faithful, if we will not give up, God will do his part. God will come alongside us. And when we stand before him, God's not going to judge us by the size of our church or by the number of people that we had in front of us for a sermon or a small group. What God is going to judge us for is the purity of our heart and the faithfulness of our convictions. And I want to encourage men, keep your heart clean and be faithful to your assignment. Don't give up. We don't need men quitting right now. We need men who have a holy resolve to keep going, keep pushing ahead, and you will see the fruit of your labors. I just want to speak that over the people listening today. You will see the fruit of your labors if you'll remain faithful.
No. Oh, Brady, that's wonderful. I think that's a great way for us to bring this to a close, because I think everyone needs to hear that. I needed to hear it. Right. Exactly. I'm just glad we're having this time, and if others get to hear it, great. But I love it when God puts a word on our heart, and just the way he did with you this morning, and you were able to share it with those that are listening. And my guess is there's probably not a guy out there that's in the midst of ministry who is not discouraged, and maybe even getting ready to throw in the towel, and or to do something stupid. And so that's a really good word. I love the way you said that. Just love it. Purity of heart, faithful to your calling, and holy. What was it? A holy. Can't even read my writing here. Anyways.
Well, just stay the holy convictions that God's given you. Stay pure heart and be faithful. Plant and water. I mean, that's plant good seed and water what God has put in front of you, and God will give the increase. I just keep hearing that over and over again when I pray over my own life and my church. I've been the pastor at New Life Church for 16 years now, and I'm just now eating fruit from trees that I planted 16 years ago. It takes a generation. It takes 10 to 15 years sometimes to see the harvest. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes I do believe in miracles. I think things can happen quickly and instantaneously. I mean, I've seen that in the Bible, and I've seen too many miracles not to believe in them. However, what I think sometimes we talked about is the long obedience in the same direction, just being faithful and steadfast, steady and unmovable. That bears fruit too. And I just want to encourage men to keep going today. Keep on going.
Oh, gosh, that's a great word, because I think, in ministry to men is tough. And the walls around their heart are thick and high, and they don't come down easy. It takes time. And so that ministry of presence, availability of just constantly, just like you said, you're sowing the seed and allowing God to take it and to use it. So what a great word to finish our time.
Well, thank you for all you do. I look forward to seeing you in February in Milwaukee, and look forward to seeing all the guys there. If you haven't signed up, get signed up today, because I want to say hi to you and look forward to being with you guys.
Great. Well, thanks, Brady. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. Good time with your family, and we'll talk to you soon. Well, on behalf of Brady and myself, we want to thank you so much for listening today. Glad that you were with us, and I really hope that you were encouraged by this, especially the word that Brady had there at the end, to not quit, to not give up, but to just continue to be faithful right where God has put you, and just be obedient to the calling that God's put on your heart, and just continue to walk with Him. And if we can help in any way, and if you're struggling and you want prayer or you want to talk to someone, please, our information is there. Just reach out to us, and we'd love to have a conversation with you in any way that we can. So have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. For more information and to access past recordings, please visit www.noregretsmen.org/podcast.
MK Cellular, your local U.S. Cellular authorized agent, is a proud supporter of No Regrets Men's Ministry. Find our locations at mkcellular.com.